Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Sabrina. I'm going to be working on a pattern I got from a Jolly Bar that I received. So in the September Sew Sampler subscription box, I received a Jolly Bar of the Denim and Daisies fabric, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And the Jolly Bar came with a free pattern. So I'm going to work on this pattern, and if you're not familiar with a Jolly Bar, what it is, it's a collection of 42 5x10 rectangles and are exclusive to the Fat Quarter Shop. Each Jolly Bar comes with a quilt pattern. So I fell in love with this fabric, absolutely love it, and I wanted to do this pattern. So they also have on their website, the Fat Quarter Shop website, they have the kit that you can do that gives you everything you need for this pattern. So the kit was $51.98, and then I also picked up the backing for it. The backing was $39.90. Now this kit came with another Jolly Bar. So now I have two Jolly Bars I can use for this pattern. And the pattern's called Summer Getaway, and it measures 49.5 by 49.5. And it also came with 1 yard for the border, and it also came with the background fabric, which is just this plain white. But I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm not going to use all the white for the background squares. And it also comes with binding, 2/3 yard binding, and this is also the accents and blue accent squares, if you can see that in there. But that is the pattern right there. It's a pretty simple pattern. It's just squares and rectangles that you sew together in a various manner. But you can see in this pattern that the background has the white squares. So being that I have two Jolly Bars, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I think that this orange fabric is just way too pretty to cut up into small rectangles as it is on here. So again, because I have two, I think instead of using the solid white, I'm going to pick and choose out of here some of these fabrics that have a mostly white background, but also has some orange accent in it. So I'm not going to show you all of them right here, but you will see as I go which ones I do end up choosing. So with that being said, again, this pattern's called Summer Getaway Quilt, and let's get started on it. Okay, so here's what we have. I have both Jolly Bars here, and this fabric is Denim and Daisies by Fig Tree and Company. If anyone is interested in picking this up. And like I said, I did get it on the Fat Quarter Shop website. And I need 16 of these blue. We're going to cut those. I'm not going to give out all the measurements. It's not necessarily a free pattern. You have to buy the Jolly Bar to get the pattern. So I'm not comfortable giving out all the measurements. So out of both these Jolly Bars, I'm going to pull out the 11 fabrics, or actually 16 fabrics I need for replacing the white squares that are in the pattern. I'm not using solid white. So I'm going to use this one, this one, that one, And this is meant to be a scrappy pattern. It's not meant to be all even and perfect. I think I'll use this light colored one also. Like that. Now these darker ones are the ones I'm going to cut up for the sashing that goes around the block, because it does say cut the sashing using the orange. So again, I need 16 of these as well as 16 blue. And I just think this fabric is just so pretty, and I don't want to cut it into little 1-inch sizes. Okay, I have 16 here. So I'm going to use these. And this is the blue. For anyone who wants to see the blue. I think it's very pretty. I like it. All right. 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we have 16 blue. Now we don't use the whole jolly bar. If you follow the pattern, you're not using the whole jolly bar. You will have some left over. And then I will need 11 orange. And again, I'm going to use this darker orange for the sashing. And then there's also some white sashing that will go around this. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's my 11 that I need for the sashing. So out of 2 jolly bars, I still have this much left. So that's a lot of fabric. I can probably make another one of these if I wanted to. And we still have these also left. So all of this is left over. But I'm not using all of the white that came in the kit. I'm only going to be using the white for the sashing that is around like a border. Okay, so all right, let's get this cut up. So these I'll be cutting into squares, and then I'll be sewing those squares together. Okay guys, I got the orange and blue squares cut. I moved my machine on my big table. It's It's a little awkward sewing on the big table, but we'll make it work. Alright, so all we're going to do, and I'm going to try not to be picky with which ones I pair together. As I said, it is meant to be a scrappy pattern. That's what it does say in the instructions also. So, alright, let's get started. Now I do have my foot on here, and this is a JANOME Continental M8 Professional, and this foot is meant for piecing. And I have the HP stitch plate on here, and when you put the HP stitch plate on here, it automatically adjusts your settings because it knows you're going to be doing piecing. So it automatically sets my stitch length to 2.4, and it automatically sets my needle to match up with this foot. And let me see what the name of this foot is. I forget. Let me find it. This is called the Professional Grade Foot HP. So this foot is meant for piecing. And if I understand correctly, it is meant to sew an automatic scant 1/4 inch. So far that I've been using this machine, I have to say I absolutely love it. I think it is sewing a very, very good seam allowance for me, because the last few blocks or projects I have done on this machine have been pretty good. I have not had any problems with this machine so far. I love it. I've only had it for maybe a couple months, and I'm still trying to figure out things with it. But yeah, so far I'm really loving it. Maybe I can give you a better look at this foot. Let me find the screwdriver. Take this off over here. So here's what the foot looks like. That's the foot I have on. Now there's also a dual feed foot like that, which is this. So you can see how that little thing moves under there, so that it also will help feed the fabric from the top. And that's what that foot looks like. It's the same foot, but it just has the dual feed at the top. Okay, let's try this out. Also, what I like is you see a lot of people use leaders, because when they go to sew little points or squares like this, the fabric corner gets stuck down inside the stitch plate. And usually on machines, it's because of this opening right here. So when your needle goes to start stitching, your fabric's getting stuck down inside there, and then it sometimes causes bunching. So that's why a lot of people use those leaders to help keep their fabric, when they go to start, from getting stuck in there. So this comes with 3 different stitch plates, And then I'll show you this one. So this one for piecing and quilting doesn't have that big gap right there. So whenever I go to sew, fabric isn't getting stuck anywhere. The needle's going right down inside this hole here. So I have not had any trouble at all with my fabric, especially when you're sewing like triangles and things. Your fabric gets stuck inside here. So I know on my other machine I was having a lot of problems with that, and I found myself using leaders a lot. Okay. So I am going to chain piece these. And I'm putting, like I said, an orange square with a blue square. And I'm going to try not to be picky with which square goes with which square. And I'm just sewing one's right side up and one's right side down. Okay, so I have them all done and sewn. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press them all towards the blue. So there's one of our strips there. Alright, so let's do that. Okay, so now that these are all pressed, I'm going to flip this one around so that we have an orange one here, blue one here, blue one here. Then we're going to sew these together. Now when sewing these together, this seam should nest with this seam. So this seam's going this blue block's pressed this way. This blue block is pressed this way. So these should nest right together like that. Butt those right up against each other. Line them up. Now if you wanted to pin that to keep your spot, you can. I'm just going to kind of wing it, hold it together, and sew 1/4 inch. And then make sure this is lined up and continue sewing. Alright, now I don't want these two blocks together, so I'm going to switch it out, maybe with this darker orange, darker blue and lighter blue. So I'm going to put those together, and we're going to line these seams up. Just like that. You can kind of feel them seat together. I'll show you how that looks. Button them up together like that. So now you can see those seams in the center should match up. Mine's just off a teeny tiny bit, probably moved running it through. This one is spot on. And this one is spot on. Alright, so I'm just going to keep doing this. And we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I have all these done, and now I'm just pressing them open. And again, those seams should be nested pretty nice together. And then from there, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step, I have all these pressed, ready to go. The next step is we need the orange sashing that goes around the block. The orange sashing is only going around two sides of the block. The white sashing is going around the other two sides of the block. So the pattern has us cutting out 32 individual orange rectangles. Only 16 of those rectangles are going to need a blue square. So instead of cutting out all of these rectangles that are needed individually and then sewing on the blue square after cutting out all the little blue squares, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm just going to cut a strip of the blue. I'm going to sew it across the top of each one of these, and I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to subcut it into the size strip needed for sewing on here. And then the other strips, I will cut those rectangles out individually because these will not need a blue square on them. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll show you what I'm doing as I do it, and then we'll start sewing on the orange sashing that needs to go on these. Okay, so I have the blue strip here. I cut it according to the size needed in the pattern. And all I'm going to do is just take this blue strip, sew it across the top of here. Until I get to the other side. And I'm sewing this orange right side up and the blue right side down. To me, this feels faster than cutting. All the rectangles and all the little squares. And again, we need total of 32 rectangles, but only 16 of them need the blue square on it. And I'm going to use this same concept when I do the white sashing. I'm going to do this the same way. Now I'm going to press this. And in the pattern, we are pressing toward the orange. So I'm going to turn this around, because that's going to be helpful when we add on other pieces later, which way we're pressing this to. actually. Okay, so I'm going to cut these apart. Now I'm going to trim them into the sashing we need. I can use this piece on the white. Alright, so let's trim those. Move this and pull out. I think this roller is gonna work good enough. Alright, so let me trim these and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I have my orange strips with my blue square attached, and again, as you saw, I sewed the blue strip to the 5 by 10, yeah, 5 by 10 piece, pressed it, and then subcut them in the size strips I needed. So now what we need to do is get all of my squares, and I'm going to sew the orange strip along one of the blue corners here. Okay, so I'm going to put the blue corner up here like this and put my strip there. And all I'm going to do move this closer to me. There we go. We're just going to sew this to the edge. Okay, so these are all done. Now I'm going to press that piece over so we can add this piece. And according to the pattern, it says to press it toward the orange. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Pressing these towards the orange so that the seam on the back goes that way. Now we're going to add this sashing piece. Now, because we pressed this seam this way, this seam is going this way, these should flip over and this should nest right inside here like this. Now, I'm not worried about the length on this right now. I did not trim it to the size that was needed or that it said in the pattern, because after I sew this on, I'm going to check my measurement on this block finished, because it does give you the measurement that this should be finished. So as I'm checking those measurements, then I'll trim this off. So right now what I'm concerned with is getting these nested together and sewing these on. Now when I sew this on, I'm sewing it on with the blue corner, at the blue corner up here, not the orange corner. Because I believe in the pattern, all those orange sashing is highlighting the blue corner. So if you look at that up close, the orange sashing is highlighting the blue corner. So I want to make sure I'm putting those on the right way. That is upside down, sorry. But there you go. So I'm going to work on that. So, and I'm going to try not to match up these. Again, like I said, it's supposed to be scrappy, so I'm not going to worry about matching any of these sashings up with my corners or with the blocks that are on here. So let's get this sewn on. So, okay. Go find my presser foot. Okay. Next one. I hope this turns out nice. I hope I don't regret not using white. But I think it'll look good. There's another pattern that I saw other people doing with this. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here's the other pattern that other people were doing. I saw somebody online do one of these. But it's this pattern here. And they used all the different colors. But it turned out really pretty. I mean, it is a scrappy pattern, but I like it. this we're going to press toward the orange. So I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to work on squaring these up, and we'll move on to white sashing. Okay guys, I have these all squared up, and I think they're looking pretty. There's some of them. So what I need to do now is make the white sashing to go around the other corner. And basically it's the same thing we did with the orange, is I'm going to sew a strip of fabric across this white. The blue square is going to go across the white. And then at that point I will press it and subcut it into the strips I need. And then the rest of the white that I cut will be cut into the sashing pieces without the square. So I will work on that now. Extra piece. Then we'll press this. We'll cut these all down, subcut these all in the sizes I need, and then we'll start sewing those on. We're going to assemble these 4 blocks. These two, let me see if these two with these two. So that's how it shows us to do it. So if you look right there, let's wait for that to focus. So if you look at that right there, they're telling us to assemble these 4 large units. And then from those 4 large units, we assemble all the sashing. So that's how they have it going there. So I'm going to work on that. So I'm going to look at my picture here. So basically these orange squares are going to go to the inside like this. But then we are going to put a piece of sashing in between, like that. And then we're going to put the other ones down here. And we're going to have a piece of white sashing in between there. And then from there, we will... see. We will put some of the white in between those two with the blue square in the center. So that's what I'm going to work on now, is building those 4 units. So there's going to be a set of 4. And on this section, there are no seams to line up. Okay, and then I'll do this one. Sew it on this side. this one. Okay, so I have these sewn up, and as you can see, the small blue triangle is in the center, and the other bigger blue triangles are running diagonal with it. So I'm going to press all these, and then at that point I am going to put sashing down here and then I'll have a plain white one running through here, and then I will attach this to it. So this is what it will look like. It's going to look like this bottom piece here. Alright, so I'm going to work on that, and then we'll come back to the next step. I'm going to press these, and the pattern says press it towards the center, the seam we just made. Okay guys, I have these all pressed, ready to go. I want to make sure, like I said, the blues are in the center. So now I need to put a piece of this sashing together before I sew on the bottom to this. This. That went toward the center, so I'm going to press this out so that those seams nest. I'm pressing that blue square to the white because this was pressed to the center, this white piece. And we want this to line up with this and nest. Now if you want to use some pins, you can. I think I might make sure this nests together. So I'm going to put a pin here and make sure this piece lines up. And I'll show you a close-up of this for anyone who may not know. And I'll put a little pin up here too. Okay, so what I did is the blue square in the center, I pressed the seams this way, and then on this inside piece, the sashing, the long piece, I pressed the seams in, so that way these two nest up together. So that's how that should look. So I want to make sure those stay on point as I'm sewing. Press that. Oh, that looks pretty good. That center. That looks good. Okay, so now you can see that that center square lined up. This is turning out nice. Okay, so now we want to add this piece on. And again, we're going to line up these seams here so that blue center square stays lined up and nested together. So I'm going to do that. I have a couple pins here. And I'm going to pin this together too. I tried a different angle here with this filming. Let me know what you think if you like it like this. I tried to put it so that you guys can see the pressing and the sewing and everything all in one place. So I'm not leaving anything out. Okay, so let's sew that. Alright. We don't want to sew over our pins. That is not good. All right, let's take a look at this. See how this turn it out. Okay. And again, I'm going to press that seam toward the center. Oh, voila. Wow. I did not dream it would turn out this pretty. Oh, wow. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm glad I used orange squares instead of all white squares for this. I like the way this turned out. So there it is. So if you guys want to do this pattern, like I said, I changed it up a little bit. But it's a pretty easy, straightforward pattern. It's all squares and rectangles. It is listed as a confident beginner as far as experience. I believe that's what it said. Let me see if I can find that again. Somewhere I saw that. Maybe it was on this piece. I don't remember where I saw that, but I think it did say confident beginner. But I think this fabric is gorgeous. So guys, I'm just going to continue on, and I'm going to make 3 more sets like this. Okay, I got them all sewn up. Let's press them and see what they look like. Here's the second one. Looks beautiful. Looks gorgeous. I'm so happy with those center seams. They look really good. Turned out super good. Okay, here's number 4. So now we need to take these 4 units and build them together with sashing in between here. So there's only going to be one blue square right there. And then this will be white. So now I'm going to build those into one big unit. So I'm going to need to do sashing on the inside. So let's say this is the inside. This is the inside. So So we're going to put sashing here. Then we're going to build sashing in the middle here. So I'm going to do the center first. Put these two units together. And then I'm going to put these two bottom units together. And then I'll do the piece down the middle, building the two rows. So I'm going to build row 1 and then row 2, and then put those rows together. And then from that point, we'll have to put the white sashing all around the outside. And then put the border on, and that's it, and it's done. So let's work on that. So I have a piece of this here. Make sure this is what I'm doing. And yes, that is what I'm doing. So we're gonna nest these seams together. I'm gonna put a couple pins in there. Make sure these stay together. And I'm gonna bring this down here. Make sure this stays together. And put one up here. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Now again, like I said, some of these sashing pieces I'll have to build so that there's a white piece on each side of the blue square. This center, and I'm gonna press that to the outside. Press the blue toward the white. That way it'll nest nicely in between here. Okay, so I'm gonna sew these on. And then I will nest, and then I will put the next piece on. Okay. I'm just going to finger press this for now. And I'm going to put let's do this piece. Yeah. Okay, so this piece, I'll put this piece on. Looks good. All right. Now let's do this piece. Let's press it. Looking good. So the next step is to put these two pieces together, and then this blue is going to be in the center, but at this point I can decide if I want these to be in the center or those two blue ones, or I can flip it around. No, I can't. It has to be here or those or these. Let's stick with these two for the center. All right, so now I'm going to put sashing all across the center here. So I need a white with a blue, white with a blue, white with a blue. So I need 3 whites with, 1, 2, 3. I need 4 whites with blues in the centers. So let's sew these on. And another blue. I'm gonna need to cut some more blue. White on the end. That should work. So I'm gonna press this so that the blue is on the out. Press it toward the white. Okay, so I'm gonna pin this across the center, right here. So I'm gonna start up here and make sure these intersections are all lined up. Now we're gonna flip this over and sew this on to this white that we just did. And again, I'm gonna nest up the seams and sew it down. Okay, I have all 4 of those blocks put together. I wish I had a design board to hang this up on, but I do not have one. So what you want to make sure of is these blue ones are in your center, and then you can see that the blue runs diagonally through the quilt. So now the next part is putting the sashing around the edge. So I am going to put together my sashing, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so I have the sashing ready for the sides and the top, and I basically built it the same way I did all the other sashing. The side pieces do not have a square on the end, but the top pieces have a square on the end. So I'm gonna get started on pinning this and getting this together. I may or may not get the border on right now. I might save that for tomorrow. But all of this I've got done so far, I've done in one afternoon here. So this can be a quick pattern to put together in a day. Alright, so now I'm going to pin this on to the, actually I'm going to do the sides. I guess it doesn't matter which one is the side or which one's, because it's a square piece. So I'm going to put this on this one side and put this on the other side. And then I'm going to sew those down and press them. Okay guys, I got the sides on, and this is what it looks like. So here's one side, and here's the other side. I already pressed them. So now we need to do the top and bottom. Now with the top and bottom, just put this so you can see it. We're going to need a blue square on the end, because that's going to finish it off. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll show you what we have when that's done. Alright guys, I got all 4 sides on for this sashing, and I absolutely love the way all the seams lined up. They look really good. So now the next step is just the border. So I'm going to work on that. But this is what we got. Okay, we'll get to the border next. Okay, so now I am ready for the border, and I have this here for the border, this fabric. It's very pretty, and looks like, oh yeah, looks like the border is gonna fit the length for the side. Okay, so I can put the sides on, and then I'll have to piece the top. I'll have to add a little bit on. Okay, so let's do this. I am going to pin it. Well, maybe I won't. I'm just going to wing it. Now this is a very simple quilt. I believe I mentioned before. You can probably get this done in a day, but I was not able to get this all done yesterday, so I didn't start on it till late afternoon, and it ran into the evening for me a little bit. So I had to postpone and do the border the next day. Okay, it is done. So let me put it on a floor. I don't have a design board to hang it. Maybe I can put that in my Christmas wish list or something, but I'll put it on the floor so you can see a bigger picture of it. But it's done. Okay, just a reminder that when I do get around to quilting, this will be the binding. And this will be the backing. That's the backing. And again, this is the kit that I got off of FatQuartershop, exclusive to them, Denim and Daisies Jolly Bar. And it came with the free pattern. And I received, like I said, a Jolly Bar in my September sew sampler. But when I ordered this kit, it came with another Jolly Bar. So I do have quite a few pieces of fabric left over. So this is all left over from the 2 Jolly Bars. There's a little bit of white left because I didn't use the white for the squares. And there's also some border left. So I have all of this left over if I wanted to maybe do another quilt, some kind of small scrappy project of some sort. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited with this. Let's take a look at it laid out on the floor. Okay guys, there's the finished product. I'm really happy with it. I like the way it turned out. Again, I wish I had a design board I can hang it on, and I wish I had better lighting in here, but I'll have to deal with what I have. But you can see how the blue runs diagonally. And then the orange also runs diagonally. And then you can see how the center is framed with the orange. And then these over here are framed with the orange accent. And then the rest is white. I have a feeling my mom might try to confiscate this off of me. But yeah, again, you can make this any size, just any size squares, any size rectangles. Just have to do the math on your own. It's a very simple pattern. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope I inspired you to maybe purchase the pattern and see what kind of color scheme you might come up with or design. And please like and subscribe if you haven't. And thank you for watching.